So let's go ahead and get started. Again, I'm here as a computer programmer, or I was a computer programmer. So what am I talking about? Healing and so on. I've had 2 near-death experiences. I'm not going to get into, say, all the details. It's actually, we've got about 2 hours, right, Gary?
Last time you went till 10.
3 hours. For 3 hours? I could go all night, actually. Okay, anyway. So we've got a couple hours. So I really want to get into, say, your questions and your thoughts, your ideas, and so on like that, and answer. Okay, does that sound fair to you? And actually do like one-on-one healings, and I'll explain how EI starts to transform and heal you. As a note, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose you. I don't heal you. I don't cure you. I'm not a financial analyst, a marriage counselor, or whatever else. However, on the flip side of that is once you start to awaken your own healing or natural, say, ascendance possibilities, again, your own internal spirit, you naturally come into balance. Now, there's been a lot of studies, hundreds of years of studies on that, so we don't have to get through it, go through that. But even, like, say, Western medicine, you'll never heal if your own internal healing capabilities are not, say, turned on. Right? So, where was I? Sorry, guys. I'm just a little distorted. Kind of tapping into the group. There's lots of subgroups as I read the individuals. So, why don't we do this? Let's just start into a nice, deep meditation. Kind of pull you guys together, if that makes sense. Kind of guide you in the same space. Because as I scan the room, and that's where I pick up, say, some of the questions that I'll be talking about. As I scan the room, you guys are all over the place, and you're actually kind of lunging at me from what I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm kind of like walking backwards and keep going back and forth because I can see your spirits like coming towards me, kind of grasping and like wanting help. So again, let's put you back into your place because I'm not the person that'll help you. Okay. However, I can show you that internal secret. Okay, awaken you so you can get help on your own. Okay, which is actually very powerful. It's the most efficient way to come into your own space. Right, and I've worked on tens of thousands of people throughout the world, and again, probably one of the fastest possible ways to ascend to very high levels. All right, so if you guys want to stand up or sit down or lie down, whatever is good for you. If you're new, highly prefer standing up, just to break free from all those past patterns. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a nice, strong, deep breath in. Again, just noticing the space around you, noticing people shuffling through. Whether you're here, and for those online, welcome. Whether you're online, it doesn't really matter because where we're going is beyond space and time, so you will feel like enveloped in the frequencies rather quickly, no matter where you are. Another strong, deep breath in, just kind of noticing where you are, noticing this room, noticing the group around you. Right? We all want, say, a better life, a higher form of living, beyond the physicalness of this world, from what I'm seeing. Right? So connecting, because we're all going that same direction. Again, wanting to connect to a higher order. So we're looking in the same direction, which creates momentum for us. We take advantage of that momentum or that strength to break away from, the distortions, break away from, those challenges, break away from, say, the chains that bind us, so we can go past those blocks that we face. Beautiful breath in again. This time asking ourselves, how do I connect to pure source even stronger? Again, that question, how do I connect to pure source even stronger? And that's nothing religious or nothing spiritual. You're actually asking yourself, how do I become limitless? Right? No matter what it is. So if you use your religion or spiritual practice, that's fantastic. In fact, if you are of a certain faith, you'll actually understand that faith at a higher level, a pure level, beyond the distortions and so on that's kind of accumulated through the years. So, and then just noticing your back, your lower back, your tailbone area. Okay, we'll just start with there. And even if you don't know anything about me, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. I bypass, say, all those mind blocks that we have. And I'll explain the details on how that works, but all you have to do is just pay attention to your tailbone. You might actually say, move around or adjust or whatever. Let's go ahead and just work on your tailbone, your back. If you have issues, you might feel or sense the difference. Okay? And when I'm talking about issues, it could be physical issues, but then also, say, trauma, abuse, or whatever in that lower section from what I'm sensing. That really distorts you, right? Emotional, physical, whatever it might be. Again, really pulling you into this space. All you have to do, like I said, is notice your breath. Take a strong, deep breath in, inhaling through the nose, and then holding it for a second or two. And then controlled exhale, exhaling through the mouth. Okay? And again, coming into that lower half. And as I work on you, I'll explain the meaning of, say, working on you. Okay, whether I'm actually physically touching you or through the group dynamics. Okay, you might actually feel, say, your back adjust. You might start to feel maybe a little heavy, some of you, for example. Again, that's all those patterns that you've held down there, starting to waft off you, or you can let go. Wonderful breath in again, just nice and strong. Going a little higher, just noticing. Again, noticing a few vertebrae up from the tailbone, right up into, say, your lower mid-back. That's all you have to do. What does this have to do with your abundance? What does that have to do with better relationships? It's got everything to do with everything that you've ever wanted, right? I'll get into the logistics after, but just for now. Okay, let's set your thinking mind aside and just pay attention to that lower part of your spine to help you really ground you. Just noticing your breath, noticing the space around you, noticing other people. Let's go ahead and take a nice, strong, deep breath in again. As we ascend even higher, down to the mid-back, all the way up where your ribs start to connect to your spine. So from the mid-back right down into the tailbone, just really pay attention to that space. And just notice how you're feeling. This is beyond, say, hypnosis or meditation or anything that we do at the physical space. Again, I'll explain that. You might even be wondering what's going on with you, for many, especially the new people. So whether I work on you individually or not, again, it doesn't matter because I'm not the one that heals you. But noticing your breath, noticing that lower half of your spine. Let's take it a little further. You guys are a good, fast-moving crowd. So let's just take it a little further, just because you guys, I think, are actually really fed up with what's going on. You're actually trying to find a solution that works. So you're willing to, again, let go. And try something different. So, why did you come here? I'll just ask you a couple questions. Okay, why did you come here? Was it a specific reason, or were you just drawn here? Right? So if there's a specific reason, note that specific reason as you pay attention to your lower spine. Okay? Whether it's, say, spousal issues, whether you're sick, whether your mother is sick, or you want to exit the earth, you can't stand it anymore. A little suicidal for some of you from what I'm sensing. Career issues, money issues, whatever it is. Again, why are you here? And for many of you, as you take another deep breath in and notice from the mid-back on to the lower back, did you notice that you're just like drawn to be here? Understand why that happens. Okay? As you notice, say, the sounds around in the room, okay? The best way to focus in on that so you can go deeper, because distractions are actually great opportunities for you to go deeper than get, say, distracted, is by paying attention to the sound. So if somebody's coughing or moving around or whatever, pay attention to the sound in reference to your body, and then you'll see that you can locate yourself even more, and that sound or that distracting sound can take you into, say, deeper spaces. Again, I'll explain all the details later, but let's just jump back to why you're here. If you could imagine it, again, whatever it is, right? And most of you are thinking about, if X happened, then I can go do whatever I want, basically. So focusing in on the problem, which is totally fine. Okay? If you guys are focusing in on a goal, I want X amount of money per month, that's fine too. Just note whatever it is. Right? It's all the same to me. Imagine what that looks like. If you could, say, put it into, say, an object, right? What would that look like? A 3D model that you can hold in your hand, whatever the problem or whatever the goal is. Again, just a 3D model you're holding out in your hand, right hand, left hand. So notice the details of that, whether it's a visual representation, whether you're actually, say, holding your hand out, or if it's just in your mind's eye. Okay? Notice how that makes you feel. And as you notice it in deeper, in a 3D high def, right? And notice what part of your body does that affect you, right? Again, no matter what it is, an illness, whatever. Again, what part of your body is it attached onto, right? And then just taking a strong deep breath in from the base of your spine, again the tailbone, all the way up through the lower back, the mid-back, the mid-spine, so the upper back, right between your chest. If your mind starts to wander, let it wander, but be mindful of your spine as it wanders, okay? Again, just be mindful of that space. Let's go even deeper, just to acknowledge that it's really not your issue, or basically it's not your fault for the, say, problems or issues or whatever you're facing in life. So let's just ask you a question, just focusing in on that object in your hand. As we take another deep breath in from the lower spine all the way up to that upper mid-back. If you had to ask yourself, is it a solution, or is it, did you generate, say, the problem that you're having? Or is it something deeper, like a generational issue? Go ahead and take a nice, strong, deep breath in. Again, whether you're here or on the line. Again, noticing that object, noticing how it even feels now. Does it have as much weight to it? Do you notice that it's, say, separate from you already? Something that you can actually, say, control rather than it controlling yourself? Let's go ahead and take a strong deep breath in again. This time noticing the spine again from the base all the way up to the neck. So right the shoulders, the neck area. And then coming back to that object in mind, whatever it might be. As I continue to work on you, whether individually or as a group, all you have to do is pay attention to your spine from the bottom all the way up to the top. This time around, noticing, say, that object in your hand, in your mind's eye. Noticing where it affects you in your body, and even now, for many of you, do you notice that it's different, it feels different, something you can handle? Okay? Go. As we come back to center, opening your eyes, feeling relaxed or refreshed. Welcome back. A lot of you kind of feeling a little disoriented, which is okay. Again, I'll explain how all those details work. You can go have a seat, stretch out, whatever that you need to do. Again, welcome back. Again, whether I touched you or not, didn't matter. Did you notice it goes beyond, say, meditation, it goes beyond hypnosis, it goes beyond a lot of things that we've done, beyond religion or anything like that. And the reason being is that, I'll explain this, and then what we'll do, I'll go through the 2 near deaths quickly to help you understand, say, the mechanics or the science behind my abilities. So, because, not to impress you, but it allows you to go, hey, I'm a lot like that guy, because all of you basically have the same capabilities as I do, all right? So the reason why it's different than hypnosis, meditation, and all those things that we've tried in the past is because most of those things, even religion, most of those things, what are you doing? You're reaching out outside of yourself to feel connected. Does that make sense to you? Right? If you're a religious person, you pray to somebody at a higher level, no matter what that somebody or God or whatever it is, right? Or a saint, right? Or a helper, or some of you maybe alien connections and so on like that from what I'm sensing. It's totally fine. If you're searching for a solution, right? It's always outside of you. If you're, say, meditating, right? What do? You try to connect to your higher self and disconnect from your physical form, right? So all those things actually leave you more disillusioned. Yes, they help you, but if you've noticed, those individuals who meditate a lot or who do yoga a lot and so on like that, they're really more happy being in, say, that meditative position. Right? This is about being happy 24/7. So the reason why it's different, the reason why it's so powerful, is because it goes back to the single most important thing of why you're actually here, to be so present in your physical form. Again, all those things help you escape your body into another higher realm. What I do is actually help you awaken your spiritual being that's around you. Okay? To help become aware of your physical form that it's created. Right? So it's totally the opposite of what we've ever learned. Right? And what that happens is that your spirit starts to rejoice because you get forced into the present moment so strongly. And if you've noticed, being in the present moment, that's that 0 point. That's where all possibilities can happen to you. And that's where you open up all possibilities or all possible solutions. And this is where amazing healings come through. This is where people cure themselves of stage 4 or 5 or whatever cancers. This is where people start walking. This is where they start having, money coming in, or they actually have a relationship that's a warm, or as I call it, organic, come through, because you get stuck or you get pushed into the present moment so strongly. So what you were feeling, okay, is again being pushed into the present moment. Okay? The closest thing that I can equate that to is if you've ever been out in nature, right? There's a presence there. What does that do to you? It pulls you into the present moment, right? And that's how you feel healed or refreshed. I force that pattern, or I create those, say, nature-type frequencies, maybe a little different, maybe a little more potent than, say, those pure nature frequencies, and I embed them in you, or create a sphere around you, and that's where you go into the present moment, and that's where all those issues or the things that you think you are start to leave you, okay? And then your true self comes out. Okay? So my first near death. And again, I'm just going to go briefly over it. I'll give you the highlights. I was a lot like you guys, but at a much younger age. So in my teenage years, I always wanted to find, say, that one solution, right? Or that answer that kind of solved all. I didn't start out first. I just wanted to be happy. I just wanted to be successful, right? Again, as a young kid. And as a young kid, I'm talking about, 12, 13, 14 years old. Right? So what did I do at that age? I started reading, say, religious texts. I read the Bible, I read the Quran, I read the Torah, I read, the Buddhist traditions and some other, say, religions and so on like that. But that left me with a lot more questions that didn't, than answers. And it didn't really fulfill me because, well, I looked at all the other people who were really super religious, right? Or good people, but they were having, say, the same issues as I was, right? They weren't any better off. They were still having marital problems. They were still having, say, financial problems. They were still having, say, that connection to a higher source. It didn't resolve the issues. I always thought that, religion and all that should give you a sense of calm or completeness, even if it is for the afterworld, because that's what most religion, or that's what more spirituality teaches you, right? It's about the afterworld. So if that's the case, then you should feel calm about this world, right? If that stuff really worked. So again, that didn't really work out for me. So I figured, well, this is not working out. I'm not feeling that general sense of satisfaction or happiness, right? That fulfillment. That didn't work out for me. It wasn't working out for a lot of people. Even those ministers on TV and all the, the Gospels and all that stuff. Again, no religion really, say, satisfied me. Although, and I just want to point that out, no matter what religion you are, or no matter what spiritual practice you are, because a lot of, say, spiritual practices has turned into another religion for many of you. Right? Because if you're not doing your practice, then you're not as good as I am. Again, which is kind of distorting. But if you've noticed any spiritual practice or any, say, religious bent that's out there, did you notice that not one group of individuals stand out? Because I wanted bottom line proof, it's like, show me the money, and then why is there all the religions, again, profess or claim to be the best, and then why isn't that group of people who practice that religion or faith, you could actually see that, right? You have, say, solid proof that, hey, their life is better, right? But again, all religions create, say, beautiful lives. There's a lot of distortion as well. So again, none of them is better or none of them is worse off. Right? So that didn't work out for me. So I thought, well, maybe if I became successful, right? Like a lot of younger individuals as I got into my late teens, you become really successful, make a lot of money, and then I'll be happy. Well, fortunately, we were blessed. We were, upper, say, middle income as I was growing up. So we had a lot of wealthy individuals. And then, I would read about, individuals who were successful, right? Or you'd hear in the news, just like you do today. But unfortunately, again, you would think that all that money, all that fame would allow you to be happy, right? That general sense of well-being. But there was a lot of individuals that I knew, they were making plenty of money, they were successful in their career, maybe like top-notch in their career. But then internally, knowing them from the back, they weren't that happy, right? Some of them were alcoholics or whatever it might have been. Again, they weren't that happy. They had terrible home lives. Some of the entertainers that you hear on the news, right? Fantastic individuals, great gifts, right? God-given talent and so on, as you call it. And then you hear that they commit suicide. You think that fortune, that fame, that money, you would have it all. It would be perfect for you. So why was that not sustainable? So again, that kind of left me clueless as well. It's like, hell, it didn't work for them, right? And what was missing in them as well? What was that, say, general sense of incompleteness that they were sensing? So it kind of really puzzled me, because that's all I thought it was about. So I moved away from religion, and again, there's a lot of good nuggets in religion or spiritual practices that I actually say clear up for you as well, as we'll go through the night, as you'll see. So what was that peace that I was looking for? And that peace showed up when I had my first near-death experience. It was a warehouse accident. I used to unload rail cars, college job, about 22 years old. I had my jaws crushed in these moving walls. Again, I was dangling basically by my jaw. And at that time, you think it was, pretty devastating, and it was at the physical level, but it was the most beautiful experience that I've ever had. Actually, two of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever had was my two near deaths. Right? It's turned into, say, something, most beautiful thing you could ever experience. But what happened is that as I was pulling away, so imagine yourself dangling, and there's a mirror in front of you, and you're just getting pulled further and further away, or walking backwards, right, from a full-length mirror. So I was wondering, wow, and it dawned on me, it's like, well, what am I doing over there if I'm over here, right? Because I thought that was me. I was just looking at a mirror, and then it dawned on me, it's like, oh my God, I'm dead. I've pulled completely away from my body. And at that instant, I realized what I was looking for, because that instant, I looked at, say, my physical form, which is, if I asked you, it's just a combination of, say, all the experiences that you've ever had in this lifetime. So if I ask you who you are, right? You would say, I'm a doctor, I'm a mother, I'm so-and-so's spouse. You've totally lost your identity of who you are, right? Or if you are sickly all the time, I'm a person with cancer, I'm a person with this and that, right? Again, total loss of identity, right? So that was basically, again, accumulation of all your experiences, the physical form, which I actually identify, and a lot of, say, physicists actually see as, say, that 1% that makes up, say, density here. Okay? The other 99%, I just realized who I was. So as I pulled away, it dawned on me that I was dead. And again, you think it's devastating. It wasn't. It was the most expansive experience that I've ever had. It actually showed you the brilliance, or showed me the brilliance of who I truly was. The amount of love was quite amazing. There is no time or space at that level. And then I ascended into, you've all heard the tunnel of light, right, that people go through. And again, it's not just a brain activity. It's not your visual cortex, dying off. It is seriously like a tunnel of light. There's different layers that you ascend into. The first layer is, where people start to, your loved ones who've crossed over, or your animals and so on, introduce you or welcome you into that space. Okay, you've all heard of that. You've all heard where people go into and review a life review, right? So I went to that life review. And just to clarify, okay, because it's really important for your lives as you're living today, is that it's not a life review. It's not an old man or a saint or, angel, or whatever that you're sitting across and going, okay, you did this good, but you didn't help so many people, and, what the heck happened over here? I'm going to really have to, deduct a few points off this one, and then you total up the score, because that's what religion or spirituality, teaches us, right? And then you either go up or, you go down. Okay? Again, it's nothing like that. Okay? Trust me, I know, I've been there. That life review is literally there's a couple things that, I want to take away from that. But one is it's not a life review. Right? It's not like a photo album that you page through. Right? It's basically you relive your life. Right? So in this case, the reason why you do that, and again, that's where time and space get distorted, because I relived my life, and maybe in a matter of a second or two. Okay? In full color, in full experience. So how do you live 22 years? And it still stuns me. How do you live about 22 years in a matter of a second or two? Okay? It's quite amazing. Again, because we are, say, infinite beings, and that's why we can do that. The reason why you kind of skip through it is because consciously you just don't have that capacity to run, say, that much data, through your physical mind. But that's why. But anyway, put that aside. The life review is, again, not for you to say that you're good or bad. Okay? That life review, think of it this way. Say that you're in elementary school. My kids, the two little, I have a lot of kids. So the two younger ones, okay? I've got 6 kids, by the way, beautiful kids. The 2 younger ones, okay? Twins, little girls, imagine this, right? Their doll head falls apart, they're playing around, and it's the end of the world for them, right? Because their favorite doll, the head falls apart, and again, it's the end of the world. For us adults, though, what happens? It's like, honey, it's okay, it's not a big deal. Let's just snap that doll head back together, and then the world is totally fine. Okay? So the same thing, in your life. You think your life, whatever you have, and most of you think is like, your life is special, right? And nobody can help with you because it's so special. I've worked on tens of thousands of people. I see it, same thing over and over again. And I'm not saying your life isn't special, but let's just say it's workable. Okay? It's changeable. You're not that bad off. Otherwise, you'd be kind of in an insane asylum. So that life review is that rather than going and seeing it through an elementary perception of who you are, right, at a deeper level, noticing, thinking that your problems are yours or your problems are you. Okay? You go through that life review and see it from a higher perspective, a much higher, an educated perspective, because you're an awakened being. And then you start to realize that all the things that ever happened to you, right? The people you married, or the should-haves, or I could-haves, there's nothing like that at all. It's really about, say, grace and beauty and acceptance and grandness. So you don't take that stuff with you as you ascend higher, and then furthermore, you don't bring it back down when you say reincarnated. Again, a lot of religions don't believe in reincarnation, by the way, but I see it over and over again. So does that make sense to you of why the life review is there, right? So when I say that, again, guys, don't blame yourself for all the issues and things that you're in. Okay? If only this happened, if only X would resolve, then I'll be fine. That's not really true at all. Okay? Actually embrace whatever X is for you. Okay? Turn it into a challenge rather than a distortion for you. And you'll see that you can get out of that place much easier and much faster, just to help you out. Okay? Let's go ahead and take a nice, strong, deep breath in. Again, just notice whatever X might be. If only X would resolve for me, then I'll be better off in some way. Whether it's a spouse, whether it's whatever it is. Okay? And again, as a note, just as I'm speaking, again, you might feel a little different. If you need to lay down, go ahead and do so as well. But noticing that X, noticing what it is that really this problem? Is it X that is the problem that you're having in your life? Okay? Or have you had other similar problems And it's just recreating itself in a different perspective. Did you originate that problem? Again, start to understand again that those problems, those patterns that you're running, and I see them as patterns or frequencies, right? I'll explain how that works. Again, is not really you. It's just patterns. It's not a part of you at all. So again, taking a deep breath in, coming back into this moment in time, and I'll work on whatever. So notice how that pattern or X is. So that was the first near death. So again, the takeaway is that, again, we are not the problems or issues that we think we are. Okay? We are grander beings not knowing who we are. So at that higher level, where most of us think of that 1%, okay? And the reason why I pick up 1% is because astrophysicists, when they talk about, say, all the density, so that means all the planets, everything, the luxury items, the gold, the wealth, and all those things that we crave, right, that we think that we identify with, is just 1% of all that's in the universe. The 99% that they can't figure out is basically your spirit. Okay? That 99% is what I'm focusing on. And that 99% is what I'm talking about. So while you guys, again, I'm not cutting you down, while you guys live from the perspective as that 1% extending out and wanting to reach that 99%, that's what you're actually after. It's not a physical rendition. It's not about money. It's not about better relationships. You guys have had all that, and it doesn't serve you well. You're still feeling that emptiness. It's really about, say, connecting to that 99%. Okay? That first near death really opened me up to understand that there's a 99%. So for about 15, 20 years, I was craving. It's like, well, okay, I saw it. I believe in it. But how do I stay in that 99%? How do I see, not from a human having a spiritual experience, because that's what all of us do, right? How do I become a spirit being having a human experience? And that's the way I live now. I see this from a grand order. And when you're at that level of just state of being, you will see that, there's no distortion, there's no, say, abuse, there's no lack of any sort. Everything just works out for you just naturally. Is there hard work? Yes, of course there's hard work. But again, you don't get distorted by whatever's happening to you. And whatever is happening to you will help you ascend higher. If you don't believe me, has anybody seen, say, a tragic experience or somebody dying in front of you? Right? Just raise your hand. Do you notice that time stops in that space for those people? Right? Time stops. And do you notice there's a grandness and beauty that can never be matched in physical form? Right? That amount of joy. And it's kind of perplexing because you're in this tragic moment, some guy's dying or bleeding to death or whatever it is, and you see that, it's like, oh my God, why is there so much beauty and grace in that space? Does that make sense to you guys? You know why? Because it pulls you into the present moment so strongly, you get to see how beautiful the present moment is. And that lingers with you forever, doesn't it? Okay? So try to reenact that space, or try to remember that time frame, because it'll really pull you into the present moment, and that's how you resolve the issues. Fast forward to the second near-death experience, and this is what really makes me different, because there's a lot of near-death experiences, over, say, 1,000 or more near-death experiences documented throughout the whole world. In fact, there's about 800 a day that happen just in the U.S. documented, so there's a heck of a lot more out there in the world. So why am I different? The difference is that this time it was a drowning accident. I got sucked into a hole in a fast-flowing river. Again, I released my body. I literally watched my body float away, okay, into the bowels of the earth. And then I sent it through the rocks, just like they do in the movies. You send through the rock. I sent it through the freshness of the water. And then I sent it through. This time I made it past the tunnel of light. Okay? Most of the time you get stuck and then you get spit back out. This time I ascended past through the tunnel of light, and I went into this space. And at that space, there is no time, there's no distance. At that space, it's just joy and love. So if you multiply, say, any joyous moment by about 1 million or so times, this is what you would feel. Again, it'd literally blow your circuits. There's no security. You don't need money. You don't need love. You don't need anything like that, because you are everything that could possibly ever be. You are complete. That's your true identity. But I went even further, because at that level, your spirit is still, say, conscious of having a human form, right? So I went into what I call now a beautiful blue space, okay, because it is blue and it is quite beautiful, hence beautiful blue space. But I also call it the universal database, okay? So that universal database is what I'm connected to now. That universal database has or holds all the knowledge that you could, that ever was, is, and shall be. You have access to all of that data, okay? If you are at that level to, say, connect to it. Okay? So again, at that beautiful blue space, I lost all identity of being in human form, because spirit does not have human form. It just is. And you expand into a grand universe. You actually feel like you're a universe of your own. Okay? I managed to pull that back down. And through divine intervention, as I call it, I got pulled out of that tunnel. I was completely awake, about 100 yards above river, going, wow, what the heaven just happened to me, because it was the most brilliant experience that I've ever had. And then after that, it took me about 3-4 years to figure it out, what I call detox. For some of you that have gone through, it took me about 3-4 years of detox. Again, spinning it around where it's like separating that identity of having a human experience, okay, to a physical, and actually, say, living life through, say, your spiritual eyes. And that's what I see. And also, I'm connected to that universal database, and this is how my abilities work. So when I tap into you, okay, I can scan you and see what's going on with you. You don't need to tell me anything. Say, if you tell me, oh, my friend, can you look into my friend? I can tap into whoever your friend is. I don't need a name. I don't need any logistics. I can tap into them and read them. Do you remember that piece that I told you, the first near death, where you review your life? Right? In it, right? So somewhere in your, say, spiritual DNA, as I call it, is encoded, say, that video, your movie strip of your life, right? So basically what I do is, say I'm a spiritual DNA reader. So I can plug into you and then see your life story the way it happened. That's why when I can tap into you, I can go, oh, especially if you're new to me, I can go, oh, at 7, so-and-so happened, at 10, so-and-so happened, because I'm just really reading that film strip. It's really that obvious for me. I don't have to guess, I don't have to ask anything like that. In fact, a lot of people, they just come to me and I actually see the issues more clearly, because you're seeing the surface level issue of what's happening for you. I see the underlying pattern of what's happening for you, and I'll demonstrate that for you with people. Okay? So that's some of my abilities. So think of it as, like an oracle back in the day, or psychic abilities. I don't have psychic abilities because my space is not. I don't sense anything. It's more of a knowing. So I'm not clairvoyant, clairaudio, psychic, or anything like that. I just know. Okay? Just like you guys, you just know, right? I can tap into you, and I just know. So it goes beyond the senses, and again, much, much more accurate. And it's not just about reading. So I can see your past or read the past. I can actually say see your future. But I can also say edit your past, and thus editing your future. And that's how people say heal themselves. Again, the key word is people heal themselves. I don't do anything for you. I just awaken your spirit. Okay? So with that in mind, say something happened to you at 7. So imagine this, right? You get abused or something, and some of you kind of relates to, actually a good number of you. 7 to 10 years old. Distortion, abuse, physical or emotional, whatever, from what I'm sensing. So whoever those individuals are, we'll work on that as I speak. Something happens to you, it creates a filter that you see the rest of your life, right? So you operate from that filter, right, the rest of your life, unless something like me, like, takes that filter out. So you always operate like, I'm abused. And then, sadly to say, since that pattern has a life of its own, you will attract more abuse because that pattern has to exist. That makes sense to you, which is really kind of a sad, but it's physics, it's spiritual physics. So what I do is go back in time and help you heal or release that pattern of abuse. So again, just like that first near death, you get to understand that abuse from a different perspective. I'm not saying it makes it right, but I'm saying it makes you stronger, whatever issue that you went through. So it's not really the experiences that you go through, good or bad. It's really, say, how you've learned or how you've used it as a springboard to help you ascend higher. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? And that's why many, say, successful individuals, they take abuse, okay, and then use it as a springboard to launch, say, a great career, a great home life, a great whatever. But most of us, right, since we don't know how to do that, we start spiraling downwards, and as we do, we magnify the issue that we have, and then we get more abuse, more distortion, more whatever. Right? Just like in religion, again, I'm not a religious person, but there's a lot of good nuggets in there. You've heard that saying, those who have shall have more, right? And those who have not, even that what they have shall be taken away. That's why. Again, because those distortions create more distortions, okay? So anyway, you delete that pattern for you. It creates a ripple in time, and then you see your present moment from a very, very different perspective. In fact, we can go ahead and do that in just a couple minutes here, just to show you. And then the opportunities that happen for your future, the possibilities, you'll see it just like opens up for you. So you have a lot more opportunities available to you right here, right now. And I'll explain that on why that works or how that works. But let's go ahead and work on you again. Let's go ahead and take a nice deep breath in, whether you want to stand up or sit down or whatever. That's fine too, it doesn't matter. But again, we'll get into those deeper states rather quickly. And just note as I've been working on you, as I've been speaking, working on you. We'll talk about a little bit about time, again, how time functions, to get you away from the idea that, well, if I'm a good person, then good things will happen to me. If I help more people, then good things will happen to me. How many people think that they're really good and still bad things are happening to you? So, and then you think, gosh, I must be really bad because bad things are happening to me still. Does that make sense? How much better could you be? How much more people can you help? Right? That's a distorting pattern for many of you as well, because then you totally lose yourself. Right? So again, it's not effective. It's not working out. Let's go ahead and take a nice, strong, deep breath in. Again, just noticing where you are, noticing the space around you. Notice where you are. That's the 0 point. Just a little education on time. Again, the 0 point. Okay? If you want to open your eyes, look at something inanimate, the carpeting, the wall. Right here, right now. To the left of you is your history, so what's happened to you in the past. Okay. To the right of you is your future. So in front, behind, above, below. Really not going to get into that. But it is different realities or different possibilities of what you could be doing right here, right now. Okay? So again, not really concerned about it at this time. So if you take a look to the right, if you keep doing what you're doing, okay? Again, second law of physics, right? An object tends to stay in a straight path unless something happens. to push it out of its path. So if you keep doing what you're doing, just to help you open that space, just give me a second here. Look at your life. And again, this works for people who haven't really worked on. Obviously, you're seeing more possibilities, but look at your life, say 6 months from now. How does that feel? You might get a general feeling. Some of you, it might be close, but most of you get a general sense of what that will feel like. 5 years down the line. 10 years down the line. 20 years. Again, notice how that feels. Notice it's the same general theme, right? It's the same general theme because it is. Situations change, but again, same general pattern for you. So taking a nice strong deep breath in. Go over to the left a little bit. Let's just even do this. Let's go back to your childhood. Okay? Wow, some of you kind of abused at 4. Wow, even before that, but well. So anyway, so from birth to about 12, let's say, right? Just pick out one instance of distortion, whatever pops up for you, just go with it, right? Since it's popping up, even if you've then, hey, I took care of that. Just hold that in your thoughts, and let's just take about a minute. Okay, and again, whether I'm working on you individually or as the group, doesn't really matter. But again, just hold that in your thoughts. Does it help you, through your spirit, say, optimize that possibility for you? As a note, it's not a visualization, it's way beyond that. It's basically what I do for you. And even now, if you look at that experience, do you notice it doesn't hold a charge for you? That makes sense to you? Shake your head, yes or no. Nothing's really changed in the physical world. You haven't done anything, but why? Strong deep breath in again. Letting go of that time frame of distortion, again turning it into a power position for you. Okay? And then moving forward, 5 years from that point in time, 10 years, and then to where you are now, again, that 0 point. Notice how you're feeling. Again, more than just a visualization experience. And then as you note your breath, taking a look at the right-hand side, do you see more than one possibility for you? Again, just all the possible opportunities that are available to you kind of open up for you. Really, that's all. I know it sounds strange because a lot of you have been working so hard, like most of your life, to figure all that out, but it really is that simple. A lot of you will just shift because of this. Wonderful breath in, nice and strong. As we come back into this moment in time, opening your eyes. Does this moment in time feel a little different for you? That makes sense to you? You can ask why that is. Again, nothing physical has changed, but why do you see things a little different, even now? So what we'll do is go have a seat, guys. Kick back, relax again. So what we'll do is talk about, say, all the possibilities that exist, because I want you to understand why or how good and bad works. Okay? And the reason why we think it's good and bad. And probably the reason why is like, if you do more good things will happen to me. You know, it's probably true. But again, it's a slower process, right? So most people think that, you know, when you ascend spiritually, basically you're moving away from the darkness and then going towards the light. Right? That's what religion teaches you. That's what everybody teaches you. In fact, in reality, this is what Jesus did, Buddha did, Muhammad, all those individuals. They actually say ascended higher, so they mastered dark and light. You have to, say, master the physical realm to ascend higher. Right? So again, that's a myth. So let me explain. So to create this world, this density, the way we see it, okay, you have to have, say, differences or polarity, right? You wouldn't understand. If I told you what color is about, what light is about, if you were blind, you just wouldn't understand what it's about unless you could actually visually see. So in order to create this reality, what we've done is created polarity, so you understand between like hot and cold, light and dark, right? Good and bad, and all those things. Okay? Again, to create density. In fact, the way color works, and I might lose some of you, is that, say, if you're seeing red, for example, your visual perception is actually seeing all the other colors, and the only color that's missing, and then we identify that as red. Okay? So for you to spiritually, say, experience what you're experiencing, you have to negate all the other possibilities around you to understand the issues that you have. So you're closing everything off. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So for you, again, just to put it another way, for you to know exactly who you are, at some level, you have to understand all the possibilities that are out there for you. And again, it might blow some people's mind. We're not going to get into the physics behind it, but if you read enough physics, you'll understand that concept. Okay. So with that in mind, that means all the possible good and all the possible bad is around you all the time. So what's the difference? The difference is that there are filters around you, right? There's global settings on, say, the time frame you were born, right? The sex that you were born, the culture that you were born, right? The schooling that you went through. Every experience that you've had just creates filters, filters, and filters, and filters. So it filters out what you're not and filters in who you think you are. So basically what I do is I remove those filters, and then all possibilities happen around you. So those good and bad things are around you all the time to create reality for you. Does that make sense to you, guys? Okay? All you have to do is, say, put a different set of lenses on, and then you'll see all the possibilities, and then from all those possibilities you can actually, say, choose the ones that are really a benefit for you. Okay? So, questions, by the way? Yes. Can we get the mic? Right, this young gentleman here.
I'm curious, is it on?
Yes.
I'm curious if you would compare your specific exponential intelligence with the Tao.
Sure. So you're asking, just for those people online, compare exponential intelligence with the Tao. right? So the Tao is a master of, again, I don't know that much, but just tapping in. The Tao seems to be more of a mechanical, some more time-based knowledge or information. So it doesn't say transcend into, say, all the possibilities or the spiritual possibilities, the space of no time. So no time, no space. The Tao is more concerned about kind of awakening to the level where, say, you understand, say, the material properties of why things are the way they are. And then you get to see the beauty and grace. Does that make sense? EI goes much further, and then you get to see it from a much higher perspective. So if it's kind of a pyramid. So you have, say, physical information, and then this is where, say, the more you know that you don't know, because as you expand, right, it goes further and further up. Okay, so the Tao is like that inverted pyramid, and then EI, it goes right into that cusp, and it stops right there. So EI basically finishes that pyramid, so it comes back in. So the more you know, the more you understand, there's a oneness, there's a completeness. Okay? And then you become that single tip. Again, one. Okay?
The second part of my question is, would you like to scan me?
Would I like to? Sure, come on up. I can work on, say, your back, if that makes sense to you. And again, I've worked on you quite a bit, so a lot of, say, transformations for you. Does that make sense to you? So, yeah, let's continue on with that. For you, it just seems like you get to, I don't know, do you have kids? Like, obviously, older kids, but kind of resolving, say, communication issues or relationships with, like, family members and so on. This time around. Does that make sense to you? Because if those, I don't know if you're, say, moved away or stepped away from that situation, but anyway, those things have to resolve through the process because you can't let go or you can't, say, disconnect and then move on because, those individuals are part of you. So let's move all that. You just seem kind of like estranged, whether it's a wife or kids or, that kind of feeling. So pulling all that stuff together doesn't mean that you get back together, it does. But again, it's really coming into, say, comfort and then leaving it behind. This is kind of similar. And again, working on you guys as I work on one individual. This is really, really similar to people that have relationships. They go after one abusive relationship to another, and then finally it's like, oh hell, I'm just going to walk away, I'm going to be celibate because it didn't work out for me, right? Or in other terms, is that, this religion didn't work out, this spiritual practice didn't work out, so what, I'm going to just leave that behind and move away and go do something else. It's not really moving away. By the way, he'll be fine. Okay? He's just processing. That's all. So you can just lay there, buddy, all right? And process. So basically, you don't move away, right? You're just burying that space. And this is the difference of EI, right? What I do, and then religion or psychotherapy or anything like that we do. I delete the actual issues that you might have. So that programming, most things that you've done is you either walk away from it, or you create a workaround around it, or what do? We bury it deep inside ourselves, right? And then hope it never shows up, okay? So again, like relationships, just because you're celibate doesn't mean you're any happier. It's just that you've tried to break that piece away and you just can't do it. You have to resolve that issue, all right? Other questions? We'll take somebody new. EI is basically what I coined exponential intelligence. By the way, it's the name of my podcast, Exponential Intelligence. It's not about, again, what I teach. Yes, you do feel joyous, you do feel love, you do all that, but it's really, there's a lot of, say, science behind what I do. So if you look up the podcast Exponential Intelligence or my name, Sajady, or go to my website, you'll understand, say, the logistics behind what I do. Again, because it's not about love, it's not about faith, it's actually just pure spiritual physics. That young lady there? This right there.
I'm wondering if you can scan me.
Could you speak a little louder? What?
I'm wondering if you can scan me.
Sure. If you want to come up, I can just really scan you. But let's have questions, like real questions, okay? Otherwise, it just turns into a space. And it might get a little personal, but it just seems like this area doesn't work well, if that makes sense. You might have had, say, how old are you?
52.
Okay. So maybe in your younger days, maybe some menstrual issues and things like that from what I'm seeing. So those menstrual issues, again, this...
My daughter, too, has that.
Yeah, I was just going to get to that. So your daughter is basically, say, a duplicate of you. So for example, just tapping into, you're not a duplicate of your mom, but like of a grandmother or an aunt or whatever, if that makes sense to you. Okay? So basically you might think that your life is yours, right? You're the only problem, but she's just a cookie cutter, again, of her aunt. Okay? And then her daughter is a cookie cutter, again, same patterns of her. So is that really your life? Are you really living the life? No. So for example, say something happened to you at like 32? Yeah, whatever that was. Again, no matter what it is, it like devastates you, or you hold on to it like right here because that's your weak spot. Does that make sense to you? So say something happens to you, and how old is your daughter?
She's 22.
Okay. So something happens to her at 32. Most likely, if you don't say, if her daughter doesn't resolve the patterns, something similar will happen to her at 32. Okay? So let's just kind of work on you. Again, it's not just say menstrual type issues or anything like that, but it's like a whole identity issue that she has around this area, if that makes sense to you. And that's why like intimate relationships and so on like that just doesn't work for you, because you can only go so far before you close the door and then back out of that relationship time and time and time again. So again, do you guys see that again, it's not the other person, right? It's not, it's just a program that just runs. Again, just literally programs. In your DNA, and this will help you, will help your daughter, all right? And again, I can work on your daughter through you. Doesn't matter because I'm not working at this physical level. It's more time and space. So in your DNA, as I was explaining, right, you have your hair color, your eye color, the curliness of your hair, the color of your hair, right? All that is programmed into you, right? You also have, say, abuse patterns, success patterns, how you're going to be treated, and so on and so on. Again, just millions of just lines of code that is programmed into you. Unfortunately, many of us weren't awakened enough to choose those programs that ran. Okay? Just to give you an example, you buy a new smartphone. How many people have ever changed the home screen, the ringtones, and all that? Right? It came in a default setting, and you kept that default setting. It's really that simple. Sadly to say, most of those default settings aren't the optimum for you. Okay? It's like, I'll have what mom had. And then we run with it. And then we think it's hers. So your daughter at 22, maybe a little disillusioned. She can't really connect intimately from what I'm seeing. And actually subservient when she does have a relationship. It's not the best platform to be in. Sure, but not right here, but yeah. Yeah, so if you guys did, like if you did, say the 21 days, and your daughter might not be open to it because she pulls away from whatever you do, from what I'm seeing. And again, that's because of a deeper level. But yeah, if you did the 21 days and say brought her in, and the 21 days is on the website, brought her in, you'll see that as you release your patterns, she gets to release her patterns, right? Because like mother, like daughter. Yes?
Yeah, I'd like to know, or I'd like to understand.
And I can work on your neck for you, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Your neck, upper shoulders. No.
No, it's my foot.
It's,
when you said exponential
Intelligence?
or
EI?
how does it? I mean, I don't quite understand how it benefits your physical healing. When you said that you manipulate the DNA, or you can edit the DNA, how does that happen?
How does that happen? Sure. And you want to come up? I can work on your neck for you. You think it's your foot, but it's actually, say, your neck. Yeah. Of course it is. But you've tried a lot of things. But if you, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not diagnosing you, but there just seems like there's a pinch in your neck, which pinches the nerves that go into your leg, and that's why no matter what you do to your leg, it's always painful. That makes sense to you? So it actually stems from your neck for you. So how does EI work, or how does, say, I can help you physically, if that's what you're asking, right? How does that work? Because, it's like, shouldn't there be medical intervention? Shouldn't there be a pill we should pop, or shouldn't there be an exercise? No, not really. Because in this reality, your physical form is not really here. If you really understand, say, the concepts, you are a hologram created by your spirit. So think of it as a projector, okay? The projector is your spirit that's around you, about arm's length around, okay? So that projector, your spirit, projects the hologram, which we call our body. And as you change, say, the image that's showing on that projector, your physical form starts to change. And that's where people get, say, results. Just to give you a clear example, and again, I use an older one because it's my favorite, but there's hundreds of them, or thousands of examples. Back in the 1970s, Journal of Psychology, there was an individual who had multiple personalities. And in one personality, he was at the hospital, so they physically tested him, and the guy had diabetes. Physically tested him, and he had diabetes. He had kidney failure and then signs of diabetes. He switches over to that other personality. They test him again. There's no sign of kidney failure. There's no sign of diabetes. So what changed? Physical body didn't change, but the frequencies that are generated actually changed. So the same thing with you. You hold a lot of tension in this area. For you, it's almost like a burden. And it's not, half the stuff isn't even yours. Half the stuff that I see is your grandma's.
Oh, yeah.
From what I'm seeing. Does that make sense to you? It's like you guys carry this honor system. That's like all the burdens of your grandma, when she crosses over. It's like, here, sweetie, you take over this burden and you hold it preciously. And then you have issues in the neck area, and that's why it's kind of bulging here. So again, that's where it all originates. So we'll see what happens to your legs. Does that make sense for you? Yeah. Okay. So you're welcome. You in a gray sweater?
Sinus problems. I've been having this sinus problem since the birth of my second child for 17 years.
Sure.
I'm wondering if it is related. Is it like a pattern we have, or is it related to her? Because it just started when I was pregnant with her, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be sometimes, people, there's a lot of, say, things. So basically, for the online, she's been having sinus problems and so on. And I can just work on you real quick. But, that's more like, what happened first, right? So you basically, get weaker, and that's where, allergies and so on like that have. But most importantly, you used to see things when you were young. Does that make sense to you? You're sensitive to what's around you. So, anyway, she's not answering. So yeah, there we go. So basically what happens is that when the real reason why she's here, and she doesn't even know why she's, say, asking that question, it's about not her sinus problems. That can easily be shifted. But when she was younger, she could sense things around. And some of you are like that as well. She could sense things, what's happening, say, other realities, imaginary friends that some of you might have recalled. Those imaginary friends, not so imaginary. So basically, she gets, say, lost in other paradigms, other realities, and she just doesn't know how to get back here. Okay? And then that's why she's always, say, spacey. If you, say, were her friend, you'd be talking to her, and although she's looking right at you, you'd think that she's not listening to you because, again, she's somewhere else, and she's actually trying to be, say, vigilant and be here. So she's always, say, grasping for something here. And that's why she always, say, latches on or is very insecure in her relationships. She wraps around her daughter, again, which distorts her daughter. That makes sense to you? Again, we might think it's like, well, because I want to keep my daughter safe. Got nothing to do with that. It's just that if she doesn't hold on to anything or anybody, she literally will not know where she is. And then, well, in her family, yeah, seeing from her family, there's like mental instability as they get older. The reason why it's not brain issues, not chemical issues, literally they start floating away. Spirit starts floating or departing before they're even dead. And that's where, say, some of them, yeah. So she's agreeing with me. That's where the mental instability comes from, so on like that. So do you guys understand that what we think is causing the issues is not the issues at all? And do you guys understand it's just like one general pattern that distorts your whole life? If you remove that general pattern, you'll see that everything in your life starts to change. So imagine a fruit tree, okay? And let's just finish you up, because your daughter kind of like gets spaced out as well, and then she might try. Did she try drugs or did you?
No, she's on medication.
Oh, she's on medication for?
Depression.
Yeah, won't help. That, and again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So basically, so what happens with antidepressants and so on like that is that, sadly to say, is that your body becomes more numb, right? You get a little spacey, you get disconnected, you lose track of your body. Again, it's all about, say, coordination or the fourth coordinate, right? The fourth, we're in a three-dimensional world. The fourth dimensional lets you know exactly where you are. And I'll give you an example of that. So for your daughter, she gets numbed out, and then she doesn't know where she is, and then basically she'll need more and more medication to numb her down. And again, that spirit, body starts to separate more and more, and then we get more disillusioned. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but actually, see if I can help you and help her as well, and you probably see a shift. And this is where people have gone. Again, I'm not knocking down psychologists, psychotherapists. I help a lot of individuals like that. Okay? Understand what really happens, and then they actually understand or help their clients a lot more. But instead of taking like 20 years or 30 years, that's a hell of a long time, right? You know, that's almost a quarter of your life, if you think about it. There we go, sweetie. How are you feeling? Anyway, instead of taking 20, 30 years, you feeling okay? Good. You're welcome. So instead of taking 20, 30 years, maybe 1 or 2 sessions, and again, it's real, 1 or 2 sessions will put you back in, and then you can get on with your life. So that lady there, so yeah, that one raising her hand right there with the wristband. So let me talk about, say, what happens. Say for you guys, say you have a fruit tree, right? You guys can hear me okay, right? So say you have a fruit tree, right? The fruit, and do you want to come up here? So the fruit is basically all your life experiences. So you see one fruit that's rotting and you go, okay, I better go resolve this issue. So you resolve that issue, and then you go to another experience of your life, and again, another fruit, and you go, I better go resolve this issue. But then if you start to see the whole tree is rotting, all the fruit on that tree is rotting, and you're wondering, you know, which fruit or which experience am I going to resolve? You know, is it going to be my spouse? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? So what I do is go down to the root cause of why, well, you're having the issues that you're having, right? And then once you resolve that root cause, okay, then the whole fruit tree starts to grow and expand and have, say, a healthy fruit. Did you have a question, or?
I do have a question.
Okay.
I started getting it when you were talking about the hologram.
Yes.
And then you lost me again. And this is my first time here, so
Awesome.
I'm very spiritual, so I'm like,
Yeah, and that's
I'm
what
lost.
distorts you, because, you know, being spiritual, again, means that there's a lot of paradigms, a lot of distortions for you. Basically, you kind of see things from 2 different realms. Does that make sense to you? Okay? So she actually can stay in this reality, and then she'll flip over into this reality. So there's like almost 2 people. It's not like multiple personalities. It's just like she can slip into. And well, I guess you can do that, but it disconnects you, because when you're in one, say, reality, you forget what you did in the other reality. So sometimes you might have, say, memory lapses and stuff like that, if that makes sense. So you're trying to be spiritual, and the reason why you're so vehement on being spiritual, because if you look in your family tree, the generation, you come from a long line of intuitive abilities. Does that make sense? Yeah. So those intuitive abilities doesn't come from a pure source. So basically somebody up in their family tree kind of sold out, right? And again, unknowingly. There's a lot of times, that we pray to something. It's like, first it's God, right? It's like, gosh, please God, help me with X. And then after a while it doesn't show up. And then what do we do? Is like, can anybody help me? Right? And then a bright light or whatever comes in, resolve the issues, and you think, oh, must be a good source because he's my friend, they helped me out. So somewhere in your lineage, again, you guys kind of sold out. So I kind of see like white witchcraft type frequencies around you. Yeah, you're probably familiar with that. So basically, and again, no, she's not scary. Somebody up the line. But what happens is somebody signed that contract, everybody below downline gets affected by that contract, right? So for her, again, kind of like white witchcraft, gray witchcraft, but the more she uses it, basically she gets pulled in to the other side. So eventually, if you use it enough time, you'll get pulled into the other side. This aspect of you will have to get, say, terminated. Basically, that's what happens. So most of the time, people who are really intuitive in your family basically have a quick death. If that makes sense to you?
Yes.
And again, that's why you literally, it's like, okay, you use 99%, got 1% to go. As soon as you use that 1%, boom, they're dead. And that power or that source that had supplied them with intuitive abilities just pulls them over. It's like, well, you're mine now. So it's simple as that. It's kind of like data usage on your phone. Okay? Seriously, it literally is. Again, it's got nothing to do with being good or bad. She's a great lady, So, other questions? We'll really. That woman over there. There you go.
So
you'll
when
see that you're in one.
When
Hi.
you had the second experience of that,
Mhm.
and you were up in the blue sky,
Yes.
and after that you can see, you can scan people. And also there's Akashic records that we can. So what's the difference between what you are scanning or seeing, and also we can have the access to our
Sure.
scanning abilities.
Mhm.
Is that what you are seeing, or is it
The Akashic records?
Yes.
No, because the Akashic records, and again, if you want me to work on you,
Sure.
you tend to hang out with a few people. You might have like close friends. Like 2 or 3. Does that make sense? Yeah. You're really close. You always do things together. For her, for example, like there's 3 or 4 people. If there wasn't 3 or 4 people, she would feel really incomplete. So it's basically each person holds a piece of the puzzle. And again, that's why she never feels complete. Or if somebody moves away too far away from her, she'll feel like part of her, say, disappeared, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's put you together. Let's separate you for a good reason. Again, it's nothing bad. So the rest of you, what makes that feel?
One more question, too.
Yeah, sure. So the transformation can be fun. So anyway, the Akashic records are very physical. If you guys know what a flat table is, like Excel, right? Or numbers, right? That's a flat table. So what I do is more of a relational database type table. Okay? So for example, relational databases, you have a table that's customers, you have a table of orders, right? What happens, like, in the orders, right? Gets moved over. So again, hence relational. Okay, it's very fluid. Akashic records is a solid, say like written down bookkeeping, right? You can't change the information. You have to go through page by page. It doesn't grow and expand with you. Okay, so that's the difference. For example, if I change you, say something happened to you, say you went to a psychic. Okay, basically they read similar to, say, an Akashic record or, that straight line that we were talking about, okay? And they'll tell you your future, okay? Or they might tell you your past. Say I delete something, they won't be able to read that pattern in you anymore, okay? So again, changing, say, the Akashic records for you. So anyway, let's pull you in. And again, it might sound scary for you, but separate you from the 3-4. And actually that comes from a very deep level where you've been separated for probably a past life. And again, who knows it's true, but it seems like, you're kind of like huddled together as a group, and then through war or whatever, they all died, except you remained, and then you died later. So you're always searching for your other 3 buddies, basically, and that's why you always need that completeness. Anyway, separating you, and then one of them seems to come unstable because of this, because she's really insecure, and then she'll start to stabilize. But it's for your good, actually, because you'll see 4 strong individuals that you can run with, rather than 4 weak, individuals that huddle as a group. Does that make sense? So that's the difference. And what was your other question, quickly?
Walking.
What?
Walking.
A walk-in?
No, I am in the process of a walking.
You are in a process of a walk-in? Yeah, I would say no, but I might be wrong. Although my accuracy is really high, but I would say no. Basically, I think what you're kind of expecting, and maybe this is what you're thinking of the walk-in, is like maybe who's ever telling you that, or whoever you're seeing, is that you're actually walking into, say, your true identity. I can see that happen to you, if that makes sense, and that's what I was just explaining. Did that make sense for you? Okay? So it's not really a walk-in, it's just like you find the other pieces that you think you've lost. So I guess that could be a walk-in for you. Or a new life. You'll see that happen. It's the same thing. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Tell me about mothers and daughters and mothers. Help.
Sure. Did you have a father or husband that died or something?
I'm not hearing you.
A father or husband that passed? I see somebody that...
My dad died the end of July.
Okay. Well, he's still around you.
Okay.
Okay, so let's help him cross over, because he's like attached onto you, and maybe since his death, he's kind of like attached onto this part of your back. That makes sense to you? So there's always kind of like a pull. Yeah, come on over. So there's always kind of a pulling. Actually, I think your father, yeah, come on over, will release him. But in reality, I think the question is like your father wants to leave and ascend to a higher space, kind of away from your mom. I hate to say it. So, no offense. So,
Like the rest of us.
Yes, exactly. Well, can we talk about that? Is that okay? I think...
I promise you my mother will never listen to this.
Okay, awesome. So anyway, so what happens is that, sadly to say, in today's society, especially in the U.S. or American, what do? We get so drugged up as we die, right, that we don't even know that we're dead. In a lot of older cultures, they used to say, prepare the dead, awaken the dead to know exactly where they're going. So what happens is, like, your father dies, he just like gets stuck, what in religion you call purgatory, right? And in purgatory, he's still going, okay, it's like I'm dead, but why can't I just get away from that pattern? Why can't I get away from that feeling of, well, your mom? So he's still here. It's like I thought, if I left, if I escaped, it'd be the end of it. No, it's not. Yeah. So, again, so let's free the poor man. I think he's had enough. And then for you, as far as mothers, basically, you're a conscious individual, and you're sensing that a lot of, say, the traditions and, the control of your mom that I'm seeing is like you're afraid that that's passed on to your daughter. You don't want to treat your daughter the same way as you say you were treated. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah, so let's help you out with that. Death is a really beautiful space. An awakened death, again, it's a grand moment. What happens is when people die and they're awakened, it creates a vortex or a void where there is no space, there's no time. Again, it's like that space of tragedy, right, where just like everything's silent. At that level, like for example, you'll still feel it, probably when you get home, is like that awakening comes through, and since your father being more awakened, is like he'll bless you and like pull all that garbage, again, mostly from your mom, your patterns that you like put onto your daughter, all that away from you. And you'll see in a very short time, you'll see your daughter from a very different light, a very different perspective, just naturally. And again, it doesn't take long. Your mother might get a little distorted because she needs somebody to feed on. I hate to say it that way. So she can't feed on dad anymore. She can't feed on you anymore, or your daughter. So she might go down like grandchildren, but she'll try to like latch on to you, especially like through the holidays if you go see her. And again, you guys will watch out. Even if you've done nothing else with me before, you'll go back to the holidays, you'll see your family, and then it's like, gosh, I'm really different than my family. The reason why is like you've ascended to a higher level, an awakened level, okay? And you're seeing it from a different perspective. Better? Yeah, sure. Very good. Other questions? Other questions, guys? Go ahead.
Hi. I've never heard of like a mother and a daughter, a family member, a grandmother, and a person carrying a trauma on. And I was wondering if you had a trauma passed on to you, how you could get rid of that.
You've never heard of that? Well, it happens all the time. Somebody has cancer, and then their daughter has cancer. So those are traumas, right? Or of similar traumas. It doesn't have to be the exact same trauma. Do you want me to work on you or no? Okay. So, sometimes what happens, and this is a real life story, this example is that in this woman's family, and again, this is an extreme example of a trauma, no woman lives past the age of 63. Okay? Usually from heart issues. So when they get close to 63, even if their heart is perfect, they'll like die of a heart attack. Again, nobody has ever lived past 63. So that's a trauma, right? That gets passed on. Look at your dating. Look at you. A lot of the trauma that you think is you, and then you hold on to it dearly or secretly or whatever the thing is that you do with trauma. You try to hide it, and then you try to create a facade. Again, I'm just, if you don't mind me speaking. So there's this perfect self-image of herself, but deep down inside, there's a lot of, say, turbulence, and then she tries to control it. So that's a lot of trauma that actually comes. You've inherited a lot from that. And just going back in your story, again, basically, your mom, full of turmoil. It just seems like she's always anxious or always, say, running around. You, as a calm little kid, seeing this as an adult that's supposed to, say, take care of you. Does that make sense? It's like, what the hell is mom doing? It's like, why is she all over the place? And then after a while, it's like, gosh, I must be dumb, right? I guess this is, as I get older, this is the way it's supposed to be. And then what do? You start to create trauma, so you act just like mom, right? You dress up like mom, you put makeup on like mom, you have traumas like mom. And you don't understand why, right? But you do. So that's your story. And again, no matter how much you, say, cover it up, create that facade, that internal turmoil is within you. So let's help you release that. And it all happens like right here, and then it just goes into your identity. of who you think you are, and then you don't think you're much of a woman, much of a wife, you're never good enough, and so on like that, and then you think that's your husband, but it's really not. It's your identity. He just reflects who you are. So, again, you're a lot more than who you think you are, see? So let's release that for you, see if that works out. Okay. A lot of times we think that, these little traumas, we're far away from our parents just because we're doing something different, and it's really not. It's kind of like trying to get away from your shadow. You can move away, you can do something different, but again, if you're running the same patterns, similar, different experiences, similar pattern. There you go. How does that sound? You feeling okay, sweetie? Yeah. You probably hate your mom, by the way. She's a great lady, but you'll hate her. Again, a lot of you, the reason why I say that, so, and even if I haven't worked on you, say if she has got issues, you have similar issues, just know that you'll be worked on, okay? There we go. There we go, sweetie. So, so the reason why I say you probably hate your mom is because, say like if you've been controlled or abused, right, by hatred or anger or whatever it is that has controlled you through parents or whoever. Does that make sense? Or a lot of anxiety, right? You get weak or you get, guilted, right, to do things. Does that make sense? So it's a great tool. That's why it's controlled you. And do you want to pick somebody else so we can just save time? Okay. Yeah. So you get guilted. So basically, it's a great tool. It's controlled you. Your spirit, as it awakens, because it is a great tool that's controlled you, will use anger. It will use whatever that's controlled you for the opposite. So if you start feeling angry and you'll probably get frustrated, say, because now that you've awakened, it's like, damn, life could have been very different. Why did it have to be like that? And again, that frustration, that anger, your spirit will use that to propel you into a single direction rather than have you explode and control. Did that make sense to you guys? So if you do feel all the emotions that you've had in the past that have controlled you, embrace it, understand it, and then use it as a propellant, okay, to take you forward and take you away from that situation. Okay, did you have a question, sweetie?
Yeah, hi, Moss. Can
Hi.
you talk a little bit about reaching out for angel guidance, and then along with that, a little bit about incarnation and how we should, if we should be seeking lessons from the reincarnations?
Sure. So talk about angel guidance, right? And then reincarnation. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's the question. I can work on you if you want. I'll work on your headspace. So, and again, so angels or spirit guides or whoever that you channel, okay? Again, not just her, but whoever. A lot of times, they will keep you at the level that you're at. You won't go any further from that, okay? So a lot of times as you work with me, you'll see your angel guides, you'll see your spiritual guides, all those individuals disappear because they're not of, say, a pure state or a benefit for you, okay? You've actually, say, created them at a certain level to help you. Kind of like helper animals, right? They're there to absorb all the distortions that you are, basically like that. And going even deeper, we'll just talk about emotions. You know, people go follow your emotions, follow your heart, follow your intuition, right? There's a lot of books written on it. I say do the exact opposite. Don't do any of that, okay? Because look where it's gotten you, right? You've met somebody, right? Your heart felt warm, right? You wanted to, say, get entangled with that person, and then, 3-4 months down the line, you know, that person is abusing you. You know, why did that happen? Okay? So I'm not saying emotions are bad. However, if your emotions are miscalibrated, they're not going to take you. So what I always say, and you can do this, again, with or without me, is start to notice where your emotions have taken you. Right? So if you felt warm in your heart towards somebody, notice, say, what did that mean to you? What did that get you? Okay? If you get an intuitive hit, and you're off, don't judge yourself, okay? But just notice where it got you, okay? Does that make sense to you guys? Okay? And then once you start to notice that you're off, your body will automatically recalibrate. So your emotions will start, basically you're changing or you're deleting the programs that are using your emotions to, say, keep those programs live. Does that make sense? I could re-explain it. But so for you, you say wanted to connect with your spirit guides so much, you've left your body behind. You've totally forgotten about your body, and that's why nothing ever feels good to you, nothing is satisfactory to you. Well, there's no, say, intimacy, and even if there was, it's just kind of like a blank feeling for you. There's no connection. So, and then what we do is that since we're not getting that joy and that love, because again, we're escaping our body, what do? We try even harder because we think we're not connecting to our spirit guides. So, again, misunderstanding. So again, pulling you back in, okay? So you can actually feel your physical form. Not to get too personal, but when you were younger, 3 or 4, did you see abuse happen?
I was sexually abused for 13 years at the age of 3 onwards.
Got it. Yeah, so that was you. So basically, and the reason why I see it as you seeing something, so at 3 years old, what she does, again, we're brilliant beings at that age, sexual abuse or whatever abuse it is, what do? To save our spirit, right? We step out of our body, so literally, it's like a near death every time that abuse happened for her, right? She steps out of her body, just like I did, and then she watches the abuse. When the abuse is over, she steps back in. And then she's so afraid of, say, being in her body, and then she wants that reconnection. So again, let's release or delete all those patterns, right? And that's why she looks for her spirit guides. So anyway, let's just take a moment or two, guys. So with people who are, say, of similar patterns, so what most likely will happen for you guys, again, a very quick fix, although she's been trying to solve it since she was like, say, 18, 19 for you. And again, so let's just do a quick meditation. Let's go ahead and take a nice, strong, deep breath in, guys. Whether you're, say, abused or not, just going to that time of abuse. And if you're not abused, just going back to your younger days. Right? You can always get better and understand that lifetime better, right? And let's just count down from 10 to 0. We don't have to understand why it happened, what happened, whatever it is. Again, let's just count down from 10 to 0. Strong, deep breath in. 10, 9, 8, 7. We disconnect from time, step away from time. 6, 5. Slower yet. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Again, as if we've been counting down, just helping you just delete that moment in time for you. Right? Just for efficiency, we'll just delete it. We'll leave it open. And again, it's more than a visual representation. I'm just like guiding you through on basically what I do at frequency level for you, or at your deeper level. All right? For some of you who are really sensitive, you'll go back to that time, say a few days later, and you can't access that information anymore. You literally will, say, get deleted. Okay? It's like having a dream, you remember it so well, as soon as you wake up, it's like it's gone. Right? You can't it'll feel like that for you. right? It's a literal deletion. Again, it's just really efficient for me, for the masses, for you. However, the nice thing about that is, since that portion is deleted for you, right? Say from 3 to 13 years in her case, 3 to whatever, you'll start feeling like a 3-year-old. You'll start looking at your life today as a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old and so on, and you like recreate that scene the proper way, right? So, there we go. And again, some of us have closed off those memories, right? We've hidden them away. Those patterns come out for you, not to destroy you or distort you. So don't fear it. Just face it. Again, dream states or whatever it is, basically for you, Sajady. You'll go into those dream states. You relive it as a way of disconnecting completely, right? So it's really fast, very efficient. This one, and then we'll take this young girl. Hi.
A lot of the stories that you talk about are family-related and ancestral. Is that considered family karma?
Family karma?
Mm-hmm.
So what define your term about
like
family
how
karma?
The traits and the traumas from the family lineages being passed down, is that family karma?
I wouldn't. So karma is usually defined as, like, say you did something bad and then you're paying for it in the next lifetime. Does that make sense?
Okay, so they're different then.
Is that your definition of karma?
I was just curious. I wasn't sure if it was the same
Yeah.
thing or not.
So in most definitions of karma, right, something you did wrong in the past life, say you were an abuser in a past life, in this life you're paying for it by being abused. Does that make sense? That's how most karma works, or how definitions of karma work. It's really not accurate. Okay? Basically what happens is that, and again, most of us, and the reason why it doesn't work is because almost all of us are not at an awakened level to actually change and go, oh, I was abused last time, I'm going to change this programming and be an abusee this time. It doesn't work like that. Most patterns, again, lifetime after lifetime, right? If we run pattern, if we've been abused, lifetime after lifetime, we're not awakened enough, we'll get abused lifetime after lifetime. So to answer your question, it's just like your hereditary pattern. Same way you get heart issues passed down, right, from your parents, you get abuse issues or whatever else. So I'm sorry, what? How do you break that pattern? Yeah, for you, actually, I did. For you, it was from a previous lifetime again. All those things of huddling, being always fearful. You can do it on your own. I'm just that spiritual geek that goes, hey, this is what's going on with you. This is the code that's, say, gone distorted, right? And then change it for you. That's all. But you can do it on your own by becoming aware of everything that you do. Right? Did you have a question? Yeah, you. Do you want to come up here so I can work on you? Kind of put you back together. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm sorry. Her, right here. No, she's fine. I'll work on her because she needs it. What was your question?
So my fingers get really cold to where when I'm at school and I touch the metal of the chairs that it feels kind of warm.
Yeah.
And in the middle of my body, like here, it gets really hot and then like my fingers are like freezing.
Sure. Do you want to give the mic to her? Just out of curiosity, do you see ghosts? No? Do you sense things around you? Are you always afraid? Are you afraid at night? A little bit? Or a lot? Do you get into, say, dark stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Again, some kids, they get into dark stuff, right? They get attracted to dark stuff. It literally is, say, another entity or another being that seduces them. She's really, say, highly intuitive, okay? And then since you are, say, intuitive, you're worth more to those individuals. So basically a ghost is, say, a spirit that's crossed over, and usually not the best types. They're crossed over. They've created enough, say, knowledge or information to create density. Does that make sense? Or wispiness, right? We're like an awakened being. We can create enough density to have human form. Okay? Ghosts, again, have figured out just enough. So basically, they start to control the material world. And then some of the negative thoughts or patterns or kind of like strange thoughts to you are actually not you. It's almost like another presence that controls you. So, and then that's why you get attracted to, say, dark movies, dark this, dark that, because that just keeps opening the door over and over again. So let's remove that from you. So the coldness that you're feeling, basically that's, again, that ghost just like walking into you and like taking over. And if you really, say, paid attention to her, okay, as, say, this thing comes in, okay, just be mindful as her parent, you would see that there's like a shift, be a personality shift, and it's almost like another person, you're seeing another person in your daughter's body. Does that make sense to you? So, again, you're not that aware, but pay attention to it, okay, and you'll actually see. You're too much in your head, or always, say, derailed. You're not in the present moment, ever, from what I'm seeing, and that's where a lot of your issues come, by the way. So, which actually makes her escape. Okay? So really be here, really pay attention to her, because that's what she's looking for. Besides, being preoccupied, as most people call it, hasn't helped you at all, So why do it? Again, just enjoy yourself. You'll see what you're worried about will go away much easier, because you're in the present moment. So if you do nothing with me, guys, just stay in the present moment. Be aware of all the details. If you're taking a shower, be mindful of the water that's coming down on your body. If you're washing dishes, if you're texting, be mindful of your hands. Be mindful of your body holding that phone as you're texting. Don't lose yourself, and you'll see how fast you can transform. You're getting really hot now, if that makes sense for you. Yeah, so again, putting you back in, closing that door. Imagine it this way, guys. There's just this door, whatever that entity is, not the best spirit, basically opens the door, slides in, takes over. And then sometimes you find yourself kind of doing strange things. They leave and you go, wow, why did I do that? Type feel, if that makes sense to you. That's not you. And it's not, sadly enough, it gets really bad, and then, we put our kids on ADD, ADHD, we're taking to psychologists and stuff like that. It's got nothing to do with that. It literally is, say, another spirit just coming in, just taking control. So that stuff is real. Some of you who might have played the Ouija board. Who does Ouija boards? Back in the day, there's a big fad in New York where they call witches or the occult. They think it's cool. It's not that cool. There you go. You'll probably get tormented because imagine that, say somebody's always been using your body, and then you lock the door. It's like, hey, let me in. And then they get vengeful and they start banging on the door. So you'll feel that, and then just quietly stay in your body, again, by meditating or acknowledging your spine, okay? And then they'll give up and go away. All right, well, let's just send them off. Other questions? Sitting right here. Doing okay, sir?
How can you tell what is truly, I'm new to this, so how can you tell what's truly you and what's been passed to you?
Yeah. So just one second. So for you, you'll like recreate that, and then it'll just like go away. Does that make sense? And you'll actually be in your body. You'll be more present. You'll actually enjoy life. If that makes sense. You're welcome. I'm sorry. What?
How can you tell? Like you talk about your true self, or how
Right.
can you tell what's truly you and things that have been passed to you?
Right. So for most of you, so how can you tell what's truly you and what's been passed on to you? By becoming aware. And again, the holidays are really a great experience. Do you want me to work on you? Because a lot of say, do you have chest issues or health or heart or whatever? If that makes sense to you? Yeah. So the lung issues or the chest issues or whatever, there's just a lot of distortion here. None of that is you, by the way, although you hold on to it dearly like it was. So again, that pattern, and again for her especially, because she's kind of aware of what's happening for her, she's a little, say, fearful, so she holds herself, or you're very guarded. Does that make sense to you? The reason why she's really, really guarded is because if she opens up to anybody, all their garbage just absorbs into her. And then, again, if somebody has chest issues or lung issues, like her family patterns, right? And then we call that hereditary. What happens is that, well, she gets chest issues or lung issues. It's not about that. Well, almost 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 or 4 people that have crossed over chest issues or lung issues. So it's like, well, must be hereditary. It's really not. Those patterns like infiltrate her. If she hung around, say somebody had cancer and she took care of somebody, yeah, that's why she'd never be a health provider or worker or anything like that. Because say she's, sickly patients all the time, she will start coming up with the diseases. She'll start eliciting all the strange, say, symptoms. A lot like those, say, medical students, they start learning about diseases, right? And then they start getting the rashes or whatever of the disease, and they've never been around the disease. She's a great copier. But again, it's really a great potential to have, or a great ability, but you're really using in a wrong way. Start copying things that are beneficial, like people who are successful, people who are happy, there's tons of things you can copy, not the negative things. A lot of you makes logical sense when I say it that way, but how many times do you copy or follow somebody that does you just no good? Right? So be awake, be aware of that, guys. If it's not doing you good, start looking for another, say, solution. Okay? And just the best way to do that, by the way, is just go, hey, this pattern isn't serving me anymore. Okay? And just keep saying that. Your brain will open up and it'll take you into a new path. So how can you tell? One, let's just delete. Almost 90% of you is not you. You has been hidden away. 5 or 6 or 7. Seems you might have somebody get a divorce or that kind of feel, or a lot of turbulence. Does that make sense for you, Sajady? Yeah. So anyway, 5 or 6 or 7, probably a divorce or something. What happens? Boom. She probably blames it on herself. She opens up, right? Or she becomes. It's kind of like somebody sliced her, right? That wound never healed, and it's a spiritual wound. So you're open, right? And it's taking like insulation off you, and then any distortion that comes through, she'll pick up. And she'll just absorb it into her wound. So let's put a filter on. It's a great opportunity for you to heal. But before you heal, start reading books about successful individuals. Start following people who you really like. And not their whole pattern, but just like what really creates them unique, what really creates them their success. Okay? So might as well use that wound for an advantage. Okay, and then later on, do the meditations, the 21 days, or do my podcast. And then after you listen, you'll start to, say, heal from that. But again, that's a really fast way to take advantage of that wound and just pull in the things that you want. Okay? There we go. Other questions? I don't know how much time we have. That lady right there. Yeah, you. I'm sorry. What?
I don't have a quick question. I just need your scan. I'm coming from all the way down from Turkey, so this is very first time and having such a meeting for me.
You want to come up here? I'll work on you quickly. But I didn't. You were really muffled. I didn't ask because I've got 2 headsets on. I couldn't quite hear you. Are you doing okay, sweetie? Doing okay? Yeah. As a note, guys, sometimes we tend to forget those patterns. Some of those patterns will come up for you, so just be aware of that, okay? Might as well just cry it out, get it over with, so you can move on. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I just want to had this experience because this is very first time for me.
Oh, are you visiting from
Turkey.
Turkey?
Yeah.
Just for the family, or just here for? Why would you come to Minnesota? Right? There's something wrong right there. Right?
I have family and for some health issue.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'll just tell you what I see. The health issues come from, say, bone type issues, from what I'm seeing. And then basically what happens is, your bone or bone marrow creates the blood creates the blood, and then the blood isn't, say, properly created or properly manufactured, and then that's where you get, say, the health issues. Does that make sense? Is that pretty accurate? Yeah. So, by the way, I'm not, I don't heal you. I don't diagnose you. Basically, I just tell you what I see. Okay? And to me, it's just like plain as day, literally, on what I see. I think I got disconnected. No, am I okay online? I think I'm okay online. Yeah. Can somebody check? Yeah. So anyway, so that's what's happening for you. Again, so the way I help you, say, heal yourself, again, I awaken your internal abilities, your self-healing. Like I said earlier, whether you use Western medicine or anything, if your internal healing abilities aren't awakened, surgery or anything like that, won't help you. Right? So either way. So the way I help you is, one, I help you awaken your healing abilities or your spirit body, and then you change your frequency. So that's how I help you change your frequency. And then, like for you, for example, you'll probably see miraculously that a lot of, say, health issues, that actually is an excuse for you. I hate to say it that way. Not physical, but a spiritual excuse for not living life completely. Just starts to disappear. This is a lot with like cancers. And this is where I call an honorable suicide, and this is where somebody totally distorted what I meant. So an honorable suicide in cancer is like their life is so bad, for example, they wish something would happen to them, so they can cross over. So again, an honorable way of death rather than, gosh, my life is so bad, I just want to end it. Does that make sense to you? So what do? You're great manufacturers, right? Great creators. So they create a cancer. And then it's like, gosh, well, I had cancer, I couldn't live my life, and I can die honorably. So anyway, that kind of comes in you as well. So that's one way, again, changing your frequency, and then you naturally start to heal yourself, whatever it might be. That's all that awakening that person needs. Two, I help you awaken, okay, by changing your frequency, and then you get attracted to the right medications, right surgery, whatever it might be, okay? And this time I actually say helps. Simple as that, right? So anyway, you guys in your tradition, again, I don't know why, but in your tradition, you guys tend to, say, create a lot of drama that you just pass on thinking that's an honorable thing again. So let's delete that for you. And then just looking at your blood again, it kind of creates clots from what I'm seeing that can't dissolve well, and then those clots don't go anywhere. It's just like dead blood that pools up. So other questions is, so it's not about, again, your diseases or issues like that. And you can go, who raised your hand? Yeah, that's fine. But it's actually you wanting that chance to live fully. Does that make sense? And then you put the diseases and all that stuff aside and you go on vacation or whatever. So, welcome. You're so welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Hey.
I just wanted to ask about protection.
Sure.
So, like, sensing the other side and pushing stuff away.
Yeah, so for you, again, I've worked on you. You've created a lot of, like, say, if you want me, I can work on you deeper. So again, if you don't mind me sharing your story, this individual, again, all over the place, seen being, say, controlled or distorted by, say, multiple realities, or almost, say, infested with other things from other, say, realities. So really controlled now, or in her body. So the next phase for you, and it's automatically happening, I'm just pushing it along further, is that, again, this is a great example for many of you as well. So for you, those things that kind of come around you, just slightly, if that makes sense to you, that's your opportunity to be aware of them and say, control your space, because I can't protect you all the time, because then I would control you, right? So for you, it's just like a test. And they're kind of like helper type beings that's around you. You notice that they just kind of hang out, if that makes sense. They really don't attack you or anything like that. That's why they're dark helper beings, and this is what I got attacked on. So anyway, as you ascend higher, there's just like inert, like dark helper beings, basically, that help you. So they just hang out. They don't do anything. They don't persuade you or anything like that. But they're just hang out until you're aware of them. Okay? So you can understand the frequencies that, well, dark beings emanate. Kind of like going to a self-defense class, right? And then you're aware. So this next phase for you is again, say, challenging yourself, pushing yourself to say no and stand your ground, especially like in this area. If that makes sense for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's, did that answer your question?
Almost.
Okay.
There's just like with like, you know, feeling like I have to physically do something, like that's kind of affecting my body and like my throat and stuff.
You actually do. So yeah, in this case, you do have to physically do something, because if you don't, you get, say, wrapped into other time frames. So physically doing something, again, exercising, playing with a fidget or whatever they call it, a widget, to pull you into this body. Otherwise, you get cycled up, because hasn't become second nature for you. Does that make sense?
Okay, but even if it hurts my throat to do stuff, I mean,
well, exercise. Just exercise, walk in nature, hold on, look at plants, all those things, just to lock you in. Those are all the things that, in the past, have caused you to, say, disconnect, so they'll use it again. Okay? Does that make sense? So that's why. So, yes? Yeah, okay. Just one thing, guys, before we get on to you, is that just say I help you, again, not individually as a group, say I help you with relationship patterns, okay? And then what happens is that you attract a relationship, and then you go, God, this is the worst relationship that I've ever had. I went to Moss, and now I attract somebody that's even far worse. That guy, didn't help me at all. The reason why that happens is it makes it easy for you to go, gosh, from a mile away, it's like, this relationship is not going to work out. This actually reminds me of the last relationship I had, or 10 relationships ago. The reason why, again, that happens for you is because I can't do everything for you. I'm not a magic wand. You have to take control of your own space. If you see that happen, just run the other way. Say no, don't have coffee, don't go, I'll just sit here for a little bit, okay, and see what happens. Maybe if I love the guy or girl long enough, I can embrace them, right, and then they'll change. It doesn't work that way, right? You've tried it before. Again, it's there for you to say no, right? Don't feel sorry, just walk away. And then basically that confirms, say, the deletion of the program. Does that make sense to you guys? I can delete stuff for you, but then that little screen that pops up, it goes, are you sure you want to delete this program? Okay. That's up to you, okay? That's why you'll get those experiences put back upon you, okay? So make sure you delete it, otherwise the work that you did with me, it'll come back at a harder level. So, did you have a question, Sajady?
Yes. How do you know if you're being possessed by a ghost or a spirit, or if they're possessing your body on some level?
Yeah. At some point when you were younger, you actually happened to you, and that's why you're asking the question. Does that make sense to you? Did that make sense to you? So when you were like 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, there were friends that you might have had? Imaginary friends? Home life wasn't that great, so you created a serendipitous world Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then you start creating friends, right? Happens to, I can work on you if you want. So basically what happens, do you want me to work on you? I've worked on you before, but let's just further continue. So just to give you an example again, you know, home life isn't that great or whatever, you know, other realities are open for you because we have fantastic abilities when we were young, right? So we create, say, this perfect world. We invite friends over. A lot of times those friends aren't really, say, imaginary. And in your case, again, probably friends or kids that probably died around the neighborhood. Most likely they still hang out. They don't know where they're going. So what you do is like, hey, you know, you get this idea. It's like, gosh, let's trade bodies. What a cool game. You know, it's like you jump out of your body and then I'll jump into yours. And you go, okay. And then you open that door. It really is that simple when you're a kid. It really is that simple. You don't have to get abused or anything like that, right? You just step out because you can. So that's why you're asking, but again, through the work that we've done, the same thing that I told you is that now you'll start to get people or you start to feel a presence around you, okay? You're supposed to say no. It's like this, I'm keeping me, okay? This is the only thing. And then that goes away for you and it shuts the door. Again, confirming that deletion, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. So practice. The lady in the hat. And then, should we just go till 10? Is that okay? Okay, we'll go to 10. So at 9:30 we'll do a, did you have a question? Oh yeah. So at 9:30 we'll do oh, you want me to work on you? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, I can work on you, but you should. No audio online? Oh, okay. Do you want me? Yeah. Do you want to come down? I can work on you. Yeah, and then I'll work on the lady in the hat. But let me just one second, guys. Sure. Hold on. Just 1 second there. So we'll take that lady from with the hat first, and then I'll work on him. And okay. But yeah, so I'll take her first, and then I'll work on him. Okay. Are we okay? Yeah. Online? Yeah, just check. We're good? All right. Again, I only got a few minutes, and then 9:30, you get a sample of what we do on the 21 days. Again, the 21 days, we do it every month, twice a day. You can do it once, but most people, you know, they see so many transformations in their life, they actually look forward to doing it twice a day, because again, a lot of fast transformations. I can't hear you. What? You just dropped it. I did? Oh. Can I use somebody else's phone? For some reason. Yeah. Let me try one more time. Oh, maybe it's too close to this. I'll put it on this part. No, I think it was just too close to this receiver. So it was just, yeah. So I'll try it in this pocket. Okay, so with that lady, yes, you. Hi, do you want me to work on you, sweetie, or no? What's your question?
My question is about our DNA. My understanding is we have 12 strands within our DNA, and I hear from energy healers that between...
Could you speak louder? So DNA and then...
That we have 12 strands, and I hear that a lot of people have between 2 and 5 strands activated.
Sure.
Are you able to read how many strands are activated within people? I'd like to know how many are activated within myself, if you could tell me.
I guess so. I mean, nobody's ever asked me that question. But what's important is like you always tend to float away, if that makes sense. You're not completely here. Does that make sense to you? Yeah, so not sure about the DNA, but it just seems that you're running maybe 2 to 3 DNA strands. I think these other ones are kind of like fictitious type deals or whatever. You know what I mean? There's like, but everything is encoded in your DNA. But anyway, let's help you with the floating away. So she's a really great example of, say, space-time distortion. Okay? So that fourth dimension that we talk about, or astrophysicists talk about, is, well, a coordinate to tell you where you are. Sorry. It's the only one I've dropped. Well, that's not true either. So quickly explaining, say, time distortions. Say you live in a three-dimensional world, right? Time is a constant in this world. Say if you're distorted, and I'll give you an extreme distortion. Say you're distorted by 50 years. So you would live, what, in the 1980s? 1970s? Yeah, 1970s. Does that make sense? So if you were distorted that far back, okay, you would never ever see anything. You know, if you lived today and you were like from that time frame, you would see the space from the 1970s. You wouldn't see any, say, new ideas, new creations like, you know, cell phones, you know, iPads, all that stuff. Anything that happened past the 70s. Does that make sense to you? Right? So she gets basically into time distortion and then other realities. And it really messes up, especially like she said, as a child, she would just like float away. And then when she came back, she'd go, where the heck am I? And sometimes she would actually land in another reality. It's kind of like, have you guys ever seen Stranger Things? You know, where they go into the upside down world? She's kind of like that. So again, you have to understand where you come back. Otherwise, just like in Stranger Things, you get lost and you don't know how to come back out. So those Stranger Things, if you've never seen that show, it's on Netflix, it actually really happens. I work on a lot of people with that. So it's actually a quick fix for you. And it'll really help your spine right here, by the way. Sorry, what?
I'm the one from Detroit Lakes.
Oh. Okay. Got it. Yeah, so maybe that's why you're easy to, say, fix, because I've worked on you before quickly. Yeah, there we go. And then once she gets used to it, she'll actually can go into those realms, you know, the upside down world, and like actually bring back, say, nuggets of knowledge. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Anything specific?
I had like a pattern of like a bone infection, and
Sure.
figure out how to get rid of that pattern.
Yeah, again, nice-looking guy and everything, but like women just eat you, just totally destroy you. So let's change that for you, if that makes sense. So basically, you know, super nice guy. What happens is, you know, mom, a lot of distortion. What does she do? She anchors, actually right around here, from what I'm seeing. Does that make sense to you? And then, well, we try to create an excuse, you know, so bone infections, whatever. And then far worse, you know, we start to get the ideas of, well, if I had cancer, then I can end this type deal or disconnect from that. So that's where it all comes from. So let's make it a quick, say, disconnect for you, my friend. And it is really a quick disconnect. Once you awaken, you'll see that your mom can't, say, distort you. You'll see that the women that you attract, you know, after a while, they come almost like they literally come in here and just suck the life out of you. Does that make sense to you? Again. And then you have to get away. You know, it's like dating Dracula. So, where they literally eat, like, it feels like, you know, the flesh gets eaten away almost for him. That's how bad, say, relationships kind of get. Anyway, it's actually a quick disconnect. And then, again, the bone infection and all that kind of stuff, you'll see that you'll either get help and it actually gets resolved, okay? And then, yeah, it just gets resolved and you move on with your life. Do you need, yeah, you do need some medical intervention, but this time we'll actually say help. They'll actually say figure out what's actually going on because the underlying frequencies have changed, and then they can actually say help you. Does that make sense? Yeah, it really is that easy. So, good? You're welcome. Let's do the 21 days, guys, and then after that we'll end it, okay? And then I'll work on whoever. Just give me a second. Go ahead and guys, just get relaxed. You're so welcome, sweetie. Somebody up there can hit record, that'd be fantastic. Alina, that'd be great. Okay, thanks, sweetie. I think I've got both lines on. So if you guys can check that as well. Okay. Anyway, welcome, guys, for those guys online. So I've got a lovely group of individuals here at the Lake Harris Spiritual Center in my hometown, Minneapolis, beautiful town. So we're going to have a live audience as well, and then about maybe 600 to 700 other people that listen to the 21 days on a daily basis. So you've got a lot of momentum. So we'll use that momentum to go forward. So if you guys want to stand up or sit down or lie down, whatever is good for you, doesn't really matter. Strong deep breath in, just noticing where you are, noticing the space around you, whether you're here, whether you're online, getting comfortable with where you are. Again, whether you're new or you've been here before, let's just go take a deep breath in, noticing your environment. The importance of that, if you do nothing else with me, again, notice your environment. So notice the details, because that's the thing that will bring you abundance. Okay? It's worked. It's been proven before. Again, so notice the details. I'll just give you some pointers. Did you notice the lighting when you came in when it was daylight here? Did you notice the golden glow of this light compared to other lights that you've seen? Did you notice the temperature? Did you notice, say, the way you're standing on your feet or sitting down? Did you notice the chairs? All those details are right in front of you. They don't move from the present moment. That's why it's so important to pay attention to those things. Okay? Did you notice other senses? The scent as you walked in, right? The taste in your mouth. All, again, the 5 senses. Be aware of all the 5 senses all the time, especially who those are time distorted. Strong deep breath in as I start to generate those frequencies. And again, bigger group on stage, a little more potent. Connecting to that mastermind. Right? The mastermind, basically the purest essence of all ourselves combined together, right? Pulling us out. It's just like a big friendly hand that just holds on to you, pulls you out of the ruts that we've fallen into, takes you out of those shackles that we've gotten sucked into, right? And pushes you through those blocks to break them. Wonderful breath in again. Some asking ourselves, how do I connect to pure source even stronger? Again, that question, how do I connect to pure source even stronger? And how do I become my limitless self? Right? And just really ask that question. Either way, it doesn't matter. As we settle in, for those who know the pedestal, notice your pedestal, the base goes right into the core. For those of us who don't, just notice whatever is supporting you. Noticing your breath, noticing the space around you, okay? Noticing the other people around you, if there are other people. As we go deeper, noticing your feet. Okay, we'll just start with the feet. And again, whether you're doing the 21 days or not, it's all right. Notice the feet. Notice, say, the bone structure, the muscle structure, the ligaments, all the details of your feet, the toes, the toenails. Again, all the details. We're really going to get into the present moment, because that present moment helps you release all the lies that we live in our lives. As we go higher, your ankles, your calves, your shins, your knees, your thighs, again, both legs, right? Again, being aware. The details on the inside, those people who do the 21 days, again, becoming aware of what's you and then what's not you. So again, what's you is your flesh and blood bones. All the memories, all the patterns, all the pains, right? Those aren't you, whether it's good or bad. And then becoming aware of a few inches around you as well. So notice your flesh from the groin down. Notice a few inches around that space. Okay? And as you pay attention on the back end, just really forcing you to become present. If your mind wanders, no worries. Stay focused on that bottom half as your mind wanders. Wonderful breath in again, nice and deep. Coming into the groin, the hips, the butt, the tailbone, the organs within. And again, memories, distortions, patterns, abuse, good or bad, whatever it is, right? It's not us, especially in that area from the belly button on down. Just notice them. Again, all we're doing is noticing. We don't want to get away from them. We don't want to do anything. Just notice. Notice what's popping up for you as you pay attention to your belly button on down. Notice what you're sensing. Go ahead and take a strong, deep breath in. As we send higher, so from the solar plex, just right where your ribs meet, connect, right? In the front, noticing your stomach muscles, muscles of the side, the organs within, the muscles at the back, the spine, and again, just be aware of all the internals, all the organs. There's plenty enough to focus on. right? If your mind wanders, think about anything below your solar plex, right? Again, start to discipline your mind. Again, if your mind wanders, pay attention to whatever below your solar plex. Setting even higher, just because we can, right? Deep, confident, strong breath in. And nice and deep. Setting on up to your collarbone. So your collarbone and anything below. Your collarbone, top of your shoulders, the muscles of the upper arms, all the way down through your elbows, your hands, your palms, your wrists, your fingers, your fingertips. Right? Again, all those details. Your lungs, your heart, the ribs, wrapped around all the way into the muscles of the back, your shoulder blades. Again, a lot of detail within your body, the muscle structure, the veins, the arteries, organs, again, a ton of stuff that makes you. Notice what's you, flesh and blood, and then all those memories that aren't, right? Distorted relationships, hurt feelings, whatever it is, again, that's really just not you. Even things you hold on to, embrace, a loved one, a paradigm, a religion, a spiritual movement, whatever it is, again, just notice. Right? And then going even deeper. Just because we can, strong deep breath in. Sending even into the neck, right? Into the lower skull, back of the skull, top, head, left side of the brain, right side of the brain, central communication hub, as I call it. Right, some of you, pineal gland. So as you pay attention again, what creates you, your physical body, that's all your spirit is interested in. It's not about helping the whales, helping yourself, helping the world. Nothing. It's not about being good. It's not about saving the planet or anything that you think you're here for. It really is just becoming super aware of your body. It's all it's about. Okay? Your spirit starts to rejoice. You start being happier. And imagine a happy individual, they're better for the planet, they're better for the animals, they're better for humanity, they're better for the kids, right? Because all the other things that we've tried to do to solve any of those problems, we're still having those problems, guys. It's got to do something else, right? This is that something else. If it hasn't worked for thousands of years, let's try something else, okay? Don't follow your parents' footsteps. Didn't work for them. Do you think it's going to work for you? Okay? Strong deep breath in, noticing your body complete from head to foot. Okay? So again, from head to foot, all the internals, your flesh that holds everything in, and then a few inches around. Noticing what's yours, what's not yours, all that stuff that's coming up for you. As you pay attention, as I work on you, whether individually or as a group, So again, you've seen a lot of, say, examples here on stage, right? Again, what I said, I have abilities, I showed you, not to really impress you, but to really awaken to the fact that deep down inside, you're exactly the same abilities that I have, okay? So I'm actually an example, and that's how I actually help, say, awaken you, heal you, transform you. As you guys awaken, well, you help loved ones. Again, that's how we change the earth. Strong deep breath in as I continue to work on you. Let's just take you a little higher. Again, whether you're here or online. Okay? See if I can help you, say, ascend into a higher state of yourself. Okay? So, and that way you can, say, release those distortions that we think we are. So imagine that you're here, no matter where you are. And then imagine that you're awakened. And then imagine that you die. You just flat out just die. Okay? Just instantly you die. You're in spirit body. Okay? Let's go ahead and take a nice strong deep breath in. We'll count to 0, from 0 up to 18. So it takes me about 18, count of 18, to pull you up into those higher spaces. And again, a lot higher opportunities out there, but just high enough for you. So you're dead. Okay? Strong deep breath in. 0, 1, 2, 3. 4. So we slow down time. 5. As we slow time even more. 6. Really understanding what death is about. Again, recognizing your spirit. 7. Getting pulled away from your body even more. And just notice how you're feeling. I think it's working for the most of you. Yeah. 8. 9. 10. 11. If you're feeling a little spacey, a little disoriented, it's a good thing. 12. 13. 12. 14 higher up. And a lot of you are getting comfortable noticing, say, that brilliance or that edge of brilliance. Even if you experience that, it's really good. It'll stay with you. 15. Mm-hmm. 16. 17. 18. Just hang out here. Those of you who can, you count out higher. Let's just take a moment of silence, see if I can bring more brilliance in for you. Kind of burn off the distortions that we are. Settle in, for most of you, kind of sensing or feeling or seeing that brilliance, even if it's just for a flash. Again, that's part of you. Okay? By the way, I live at those higher levels, actually, all the time. Even actually much higher. Not to impress you, but just to show you that those opportunities, if you can see them, they're available to you, for you. Okay? As we settle in, come back down, settle back into your body. We'll just count from 3 down to 0. 3, 2, 1, 0. Connecting back to time. Welcome back. Do you notice a kind of a whoosh, or like something that pulls you? Again, that's you getting reconnected back into time for the most of you. Okay? It is a physical property, time and space. For those online, again, if you guys want to hang out, I'm just going to keep you dialed in. Just got a few minutes left. You guys can sit back down if you'd like. Again, notice that experience. It is a timeless experience. It'll hang out with you. Right? Refer back to that experience. Okay. Do you want to come up, Sajady? That lady, yeah. I'll just work on you quickly, guys. And as I close, guys, again, kind of went over, actually by a bit. Again, you tend to say run from a lot of culture, right? And then you try to stay away from that culture. You try to escape from that culture, but it's kind of like escaping from your shadow. So the harder you try, the more bound you get, say, by your culture, whether it's like, your real culture, wherever your identity is from, or family culture. And then what do? Again, we try to escape. We try to go against the family grain, but since we are the family grain, how far can you walk away from it? You know what I mean? So let's do it another way. And since you're like that, then it's kind of hard to integrate with people, and then we always have to disconnect. So as we end, guys, I'm going to finish up with a story. Since it is the holidays, we'll talk about turkey, roasting pans. Okay? Something to take away. Oh, before Did I mention? Oh, let's talk about detox, and then I'll leave you with that story. Okay? So, again, even if you're new, there is some level of detox. About 30-40% of you will walk away like free and just feel really good. The others, say 40 to 60%, will actually feel, say, some level, whether it's minor or extreme. So imagine this, okay? And this is what definition of detox is, that the pain of transformation, right? So the more you hold on to your identity, okay, the harder, the more painful it gets. Okay, so yeah, so again, she even rejected that because that's her paradigm. It still works on her though. So anyway, what was I saying? Let's give you another example. Say that you want to run a triathlon. Okay, that person who's in shape, who's ready to go, they can easily beef up, right, or practice and run that triathlon. So those are those individuals that get it and just go on, right? But say you want to run that triathlon, you've never worked out a day in your life. You sat on the couch and you've never exercised, right? You overeat, you don't eat the good stuff, and then you want to run a triathlon. Okay? There's a lot of pain of getting you into shape just so you can exercise to get into shape to run the triathlon. Okay? And I said kind of extreme, but basically that's what it is. You hold on to a lot of garbage, so you have to, in spiritual form, you've been buried by so much garbage, you have to get rid of all that garbage so you can actually get on your path. It's just simple as that, okay? And just like any other space, right, just as a note, some of you who are, possessed, controlled, especially if you're of an intuitive value, right, you get demonized and so on like that. Well, basically, I'll work with you and you go, well, since that Moss guy worked on me, I start to see these demons, I start to see this. That's not me. Those are all the things that have been around you all the time, okay? Imagine that you're in the dark, right? You don't know what's around you. Me, or EI, exponential intelligence, is that bright flashlight. I turn it on, you get to actually see what's been distorting you. Okay? Again, it's got nothing to do with me. It's got all to do with you and all the garbage from you, your family lineage, your previous lifetimes. So just be aware of that. The best way to remedy that is to stay focused in on your body, stay focused in on the present moment. There's podcasts that you can do. There's 21 days. There's a lot of free stuff out there. Again, a lot of stuff online for you. Okay? So does that make sense to you guys? Again, it's all your stuff that you've carried. Family and all that. So as we end, guys, the turkey and the pan. So it's a big Christmas dinner. It's a big, huge Christmas dinner. 3 generations are in the house. Okay, mother, the daughter, the mother, grandmother. Yeah, right. So anyway, the daughter's got the little girl. It's like, mommy, why are you cooking such a small turkey in such a big pan? It's like, I don't know. You should ask my mom, your grandma, right? Because that's the way we did it. We always did it that way. I guess it's supposed to taste better or whatever. It's like, go ask grandma. It's like, okay. So it's like, grandma, why does mommy cook such a small turkey in such a big pan? It's like, I don't know. That's the way we've always done it. My mom and her mom and so on like that always cooked that turkey, small turkey, in such a big pan. Okay? It's like, I really don't know. Why don't you ask your great-grandma? And then fortunately enough, great-grandma's there. It's like, great-grandma, why do they cook such a small turkey in such a big pan? Is it because it tastes better? Is it because this? Because he goes, no. It's because that's all we had at the time. Okay? Might not be funny, but imagine all the patterns that you guys run just because everybody else did it. Okay? That's the point, even if it's not funny. I thought it was pretty damn funny. But anyway, tough crowd. Thanks for being here, guys. Notice what you notice. Again, you can always catch me online. Sajady.com, or my podcast, Exponential Intelligence. Okay? I'll see you guys later. I want to thank Gary as well, okay, for allowing us this space. Happy holidays. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.